already had the black goo. Oh, they already had the xenomorph eggs, and they made the black goo from the eggs, since the black goo can be used to make xenomorphs. And uh, Adam just not Adam, but David just reverse engineered them.
Varsity, the place to be. Life's a madness, wild and free. Tune in now, let the good vibes flow. Varsity, your favorite show.
Welcome back to Bar City, episode 90. I'm Eric.
I'm Kevin, and I cannot decide if I'm hot or cold or not. Got my I got my
Oh,
fan running, and like, because I was kind of hot, but now it kind of making me cold with it running, and I'm like, I don't know.
somebody get the Kevin problem count up
Oh
again.
God, I literally just said one thing, dude.
You say one thing every episode at least.
I do not do it every episode.
Uh...
But then I was complaining right before we started the podcast. Like as soon as the
Yeah,
microphone came on, I was already like, "Rah."
you were. So, how was your weekday weekend?
It was pretty good. It just mostly, again, just like last week, I mostly just worked on my game um yeah, stuff like that. Got some new things implemented,
That sounds like fun.
and let's see, what else did I do? Not
I
much.
have done absolutely nada.
Nada.
I have literally just been putting on like 90s and 2000s music and just like zoning the fuck out because I've been with stress all fucking week. And like I haven't done shit until the day with my neighbor. His four-wheel drive stopped working, and since it rained, he got stuck in his yard. So I just backed up, pulled over, and yanked his ass out. I had to pull him out of his yard, which he hit the ditch just right, and I watched his truck just lift up. But other than that,
Jeez.
yeah, I've been having music on and just gone. I'm surprised I even realized what time it was. Ugh.
I don't
But
even
yeah,
know what time it is.
yep. I just and if that thing is like I've been on my phone, like I'm normally not on my phone this much, but lately, like I've been just because, like I told you before, the AI chat apps,
Yeah.
do some role play. I have just been ever since I've been just getting so much stress. I just been lost into those, just doing random fucking stories and not really paying attention to much else. I mean, I cooked last night, but like, I mean, I was just crock pot cooking, so yeah.
The lazy version of cooking.
Yeah, like I mean, it turned out really fucking delicious. So
Oh,
like, I mean, that's all that
I love
matters.
crock pot meals. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so we do the whole like we'll take one pork shoulder and we'll make it for like 2 to 3 meals.
Yeah.
Last night was we did it and we shredded it up so we can have pulled pork. Then we do tacos, and then we'll do lo mein.
Hmm.
Ooh. So yeah.
I love how you call it crock pot meals like I do. I used to I always called it, I thought that's what everyone called it when I was growing up because that's what we always called it, my
Yeah,
family.
same.
And until I finally met a group of people that were all like, crock pot, it's called slow cooker. And I'm like, I've never. I was like, apparently the brand is crock pot, but it's actually a slow cooker. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's kind
yeah,
of sort
yep,
of like
yep,
the
yep.
whole Kleenex thing versus tissue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, well, I always call it crock pot meal because that's what we grew up calling it. So I always get a kick out of it when I hear someone else call it that too. I'm like, yay, they agree with me, crock pot. Yeah.
Well, it's okay. So
Yeah.
again, it's just a family thing.
Yeah.
I mean, even online, you can see it as crock pot meals. So
Yeah.
Pioneer Woman, like they literally say 75 best crock pot recipes.
Yeah.
And then you get some that say slow cooker recipes. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I think there was a Good Mythical Morning episode. Of course, that episode's really old now, but
Probably.
they did a whole episode dedicated to that concept of brand names versus like what the item is actually called, and surprised how often people actually use the brand name as just the name for it. And Crockpot was one of them. So it's like calling it a crock pot. So instead of a slow cooker. So
Okay,
yeah.
so there
So, like I
is a
said, sort of like the
way,
Kleenex thing. A lot of
yeah,
people say Kleenex, even though that's a brand.
but
So,
there is a actual difference between a crock pot and a slow cooker.
oh, really?
All crock pots are slow cookers, but not all slow cookers are crock pots. Crock pots are specifically the ones that use the stone innards surrounded by the cooking device.
Oh, okay.
Because you have other types of slow cookers, and a lot of them are like mesh or metal or whatever. But a crock pot is specifically the ones that have the heavy, like almost stone insides, like the porcelain stuff.
Huh.
Those are specifically crock pots.
Yeah, I
Yeah, the
did not know
primary
that.
difference is that traditional crock pots have a stoneware pot surrounded by a heating element, while other slow cookers may have metal pots with bottom only heating.
Hmm.
Yeah, Crock-Pot's brand typically features a removable stoneware ceramic insert. Other slow cookers might have metal pots, sometimes with non-stick coating. Heating crock-pots generally heat from the sides, wrapping the food in gentle heat. Other slow cookers often heat from the bottom, which can lead to a higher risk of burning if not monitored. Functionally, both are designed to cook food slowly over 4 to 10 hours, featuring low and high settings.
Yeah.
So there is an actual difference.
Hmm.
They're just both slow cookers. They're just all slow cookers, but they're not all crock pots. There's just some educational stuff for y'all on
So
a
it
random
sounds.
ass podcast
So it sounds to me like crock pots might be better than just a
Yeah,
standard slow cooker then.
because
So,
they heat more evenly. You have
yeah.
less risk of sticking unless, you put
I
something
guess
that's
I never
extremely
really thought
dry with
about
no.
that. I
Yeah.
always do the thing where like, well, I don't cook like tons of different types of food in a
Hmm.
crock pot, but like I do the thing where I like will just leave it in there while I'm like asleep or something, and then when I
Yeah.
wake up, my food's just kind of ready. So,
Well, also like the one we got, the crock pot we have specifically has a mode just for warm. And after it gets
mhm.
done with like the 8 hours on low or eight 8 hours on high, 10 hours on high, 10 hours on low, whatever, it will automatically switch to warming. So
Yeah,
after that 8 or 10 hours, it'll all of a sudden just switch to its warming feature and just keep the food warm and won't cook it. So if you start it up, go to sleep, you're waking up and it's still nice, fresh, and warm. And you don't have to risk it burning because, well, it's a crock pot, not a slow cooker. Well, it's a slow cooker, but not a typical slow cooker.
yeah. Oh crap.
uh, but yeah, like as soon as you were talking about that, like I had to like actually look that up because I was like, now I'm curious. Oh, apparently.
That's just what I'd always heard that Crock-Pot was a brand name, but I didn't know it was actually a specific type of crock or a slow cooker. So, see, I'm saying Crock-Pot even when I'm trying to describe it. So. It's sort of like they also supposedly say that the word dish rag is apparently not a correct word. They always were like, it's called a washcloth, not a dish rag, because I always called them dish rags,
I mean, the rags for
like a
the
small
dishes.
towel. So sometimes I just call it a rag. I don't even say the word dish. I just say rag. So
Yeah. Out of town, just hey, hand me a rag.
yeah,
Or
that's
I'll
just
say
what we
dish
grew up
towel
calling
for
them.
like the medium-sized towels we use for our dishes.
Yeah, I never say the word dish towel, but I know what people are like talking about when they say it, but I never use that phrase. So
Yeah.
personally.
Uh,
But yeah, other than now that we're done with the I guess the slow cooker thing or the crock pot slash slow cooker. So uh yeah, other than that, I hadn't really done much. Just kind of did that.
hmm
I know this is gonna sound like such a simple thing, but you people like unless you've sat down and done it, you don't realize how hard some of these little things that seem simple are. But like I finally figured out like it- when I was making a dungeon map
hmm
display and because I wanted because the dungeons in this game are going to be pretty big, and so I needed a map display, and and I couldn't figure out for the life of me for all this time I've been working on it how to make it to where the dungeon highlights as you walk in from room to room. I wanted it to slowly
hmm
like show the display more and more, and I couldn't figure out how to
Yeah.
get it to do that. So I tried so many different setups and stuff like that, and just nothing was working right. And the only way I could get it to work, I was like, if I could make the dungeon be like where it was just like a straight walk from sort of like a Skyrim style dungeon, where you just kind of start in one room and it just kind of sort of works like a railroad track all the way to the end. And
Yeah.
I was like, if I set it up like that, then I could probably figure out how to do it because then you could just set up like a essentially a variable that just the number increases as you work your way through the dungeon. And but I didn't want to do my dungeons that way. I wanted them to be a bit more sporadic, like they spread out and like spider web. And so I finally just gave up for a while there and was just showing the entire dungeon and all the tutorial dungeons that I had made. And basically, as soon as you walked in the dungeon and looked at your map, you just saw the whole thing on there, and which I didn't really like, but it just was what it was. And finally just a few days ago or over this my version of the weekend, I finally figured out how to get it to work. So it's pretty cool. I was all excited about it when I got it to work. I was like, "Yay!" It's always exciting when you get a new thing to work. So, but yeah, I know some
Right.
people are thinking like that seems like such a simple concept. It's like you're making full on games and you didn't know how to do that. Like honestly, it's a lot more complicated than you think it would be. So, so yeah, that was my
I mean,
little
I wouldn't know how
game
to
of
do that, so like
yeah. That was my little game development of the week thing. So since I'm obsessed with that right now, y'all are probably gonna get that at least a little something every week. Me doing a little update on one little thing I figured out or whatever. So
I mean,
yeah, it's
this
kind of one
is
of those gaming concepts I never really thought about until I actually, sat down to actually do it. I remember with my first game, I couldn't even figure out how to make a map display. I didn't even
yeah.
know how to do that. I was like, because I finally came across like that concept never even popped in my head until I started making like my first like bigger dungeon. Because before, the first like 4 or 5 dungeons I made in the first game were like really tiny, so it didn't even cross my mind to make a map for them. I didn't even think about it. And
Hmm.
because like I was like, yeah, you know where to go, and it's pretty easy. And but then I made like a much bigger one because I was like, oh, I want to make this really big labyrinth style dungeon, and and do all this. But then it clicked in my head after I made the dungeon that I was like, the player's not really even going to know where in the world to go. I'm like, I was like, I should probably try to make a map, but I don't even know how to do that. I'm like, how would I even start by doing that? So I had to play around with a bunch of ideas. I remember in the first game, my solution to that dungeon was to make a map sign at sort of at the beginning of the dungeon. When you first enter the dungeon, you click on this little billboard thing
Mm-hmm.
majig, and it just basically quickly displays a representation of kind of what the map is. It shows you like where you are and where the final room is, and then it shows you all the rooms around it. But basically, the room leading up to the final room was locked, so you had to find the key. So basically, I kind of forced the player to keep walking back into that room and keep looking at that map if they forgot where to go or whatever, and try to look them where they need to go to find the key. So it's like, okay, you can't go there. Okay, I looked at that way, you know. So I was like, I don't know if I have no idea if this is going to be even entertaining to a player or not, but that was just the only way I could get it to figure out how to get it to set up. So I kept having to and do that. I remember when I was describing that to my mom when I was first making it, she was like, "Oh yeah, I actually played a game when I was a teenager that did that once." She was just like, she was like, "I hated that game," and I was like, "Oh, that makes me feel great."
Hmm.
I don't know what game it was, but some arcade game, I guess, that she grew up playing when she was a teenager. And, because she grew up in the 70s, 80s. So. But yeah, that was the only way I could do it. And then I finally, that's my solution after that was just to keep all the side dungeons like smaller. So that way you didn't really need a map. So, and then,
Right.
but this game, I was just like, yeah, I definitely want bigger dungeons, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this. Again, I figured out how to make a map, but I had no idea how to make it do that. So, but now I just now figured out how to do that. So, essentially, what I do is I turn on a switch or I think in programming terms they call it like a boolean, where something is turned on or off. And so as soon as you walk into a room, that picture is now added to the map to look at. So if you hit the M key on your keyboard, it'll display the map now with that new picture on there and
Nice.
layered on top of it. And then as soon as you leave the dungeons, oh, this is another thing I did, by the way. As soon as you leave the dungeon, the whole dungeon basically resets itself, including the map. So as you even when you walk out of the dungeon, you have to rediscover the map again. So um, the reason why I set it up that way, some people may be thinking like, I don't know if I like that or not, but the reason why I set it up that way is because of the fact that since there will be essentially an endless gameplay loop, I wanted the dungeons like let's say you went to one dungeon and you got did some kind of quest there or whatever, and then it was like I don't know, like several months later, and you're still playing the game, and you just happen to get sent back to that dungeon pretty mathematically unlikely, but it is possible. Then that dungeon, most likely by that point, you've probably forgotten that, like how that dungeon even works and how to navigate it. And so when you go back there, it's going to sort of feel like a brand new dungeon to you as the player. So that's kind of the idea I was trying to go for there. And that way it allows me to reuse switches because if you turn on too many switches in the game, then it can slow your game down. And so that was sort of my solution to that was it clears out all the items in the dungeon and it turns all those switches off and then it clears out your map. So once you walk back into that dungeon, everything is like redone. So and that's the way map and Daggerfall does. I think in the later Elder Scrolls game and probably other modern day RPGs do this as well with their dungeons is what they do is when you leave the dungeon, eventually a lot of times the dungeon will reload themselves. I know Oblivion does this. Um, but they put like I think like a time clock on it or something like that. Like
Yeah.
after so much time passes in game, then eventually the dungeon reloads itself. That way it's not like you're walking in and walking out and it immediately. But
Mm-hmm.
I probably could set up such a thing, but then it may create problems for other dungeons. So I just kind of kept it more simplified to where, like I said, as soon as you walk out, the dungeon just reloads itself, basically. So,
Hmm.
so keep that in mind when you're exploring a dungeon. Don't walk out unless you want to redisplay your map again. So have to rediscover that. Not that it would take really all that long, unless you were like really far down like one of the floors or something, because like there's the dungeons will have multiple floors in them.
Yeah.
So unless you were like all the way down on like the fourth floor or something in some random room, and then you just for some reason decided to walk all the way back up the floors and then walk out of the dungeon, then yeah, I mean, naturally you're gonna, I don't know why a player might would do that unless they got poisoned or something and they had no way to cure their poison, and so they're like, oh crap, I gotta get out of here. So they ran out of the dungeon and then maybe went somewhere to go get their poison cured. Then they're gonna have to understand that yeah, once you come back to that dungeon again and complete that quest, whatever it is, yeah, you're gonna have to do all that over again. So so
Yeah.
sort of I guess it's kind of like a punishment, I guess, to the play, which Daggerfall does it too. Like I said, like there's been a few times I've caught in some kind of disease or something. I've had to like literally abort my quest, not knowing if I would even have enough time to complete the quest if I left. And I left to go get cured at like a temple, and then had to come back to the dungeon to basically rediscover all that stuff all over again. So it can happen. It's one of those things you have to be very careful before you go on a quest. You got to make sure you got your supplies and everything you need. So, but yeah, that was my little. Anyway, I just got done saying that was going to be my little thing of the week, and then I continue going. So,
Yep. Um, apparently it's Alien Day. It's the birthday of the first Alien mo movie from 1979.
when you said Alien Day, I had no idea where you were going with that. I was like, Alien Day, what?
Yep. It's the birthday of the Xenomorphs.
Let's see. When did that first movie come out? 1980 something, right?
1979.
Oh God, is that a 70s movie? I didn't know that. I guess late
Yep.
70s. Yeah. Yeah. For some reason, I always think of the Alien movies. Well, I guess the sequels though. It's like 80s slash 90s movies, but I guess the sequels kind of are. So
Yep. Well, they're saying it's Alien Day, so unless they just chose a random day, because the movies came out. Alien 1979 was released in the United States on May 25th of 1979. So, I wonder why they're saying the day is apparently Alien Day.
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to look into that. Yeah, but that was a post on X. April 26th is celebrated as Alien Day because it is a nod to LV-426.
LV-46.
Oh. LV-426 is the moon that they found the engineer's ship on that had the xenomorph eggs. So 426. It's an unofficial fan holiday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was a
because
little confused.
LV-426, it's a moon that's where when they landed and they cut the face hugger on the one dude, they were on the moon. LV-426. So fans have made today the unofficial birthday or alien day because
For
of the
the
planet.
actual, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because the moon is 426. It's basically like, May the 4th be with you and Revenge of the 5th.
Mm-hmm. because of the play on words. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of thing. I was confused. Like, I knew its birthday was coming up soon, but like, I was like, I could have sworn it was later, but I'll double check. I didn't think about LV-426. I don't think about the moon's destined name, what it's they declare the moon as because it's just LV-426. It's kind of I only care about the moon for the fact that how did that engineer ship get on there? The prequels kind of screw that up, in my opinion.
God, it's been. I really got to rewatch those movies, especially the first one. It has been so long.
Oh. Well, if you ever want to really get into a talk about them, like yeah, I mean I'm down, dude.
Yeah,
Watch them up and
I really need to. I know I the first. I think I've seen the first four of them. I've admittedly never seen any of the like the prequels and stuff in them. I've
so the
watched.
problem with the prequels is they're unfinished because the Covenant did so bad, and it was the last one really Scott did, and then Romulus did good, but it's not a prequel to be said, it's a sequel to the first one, but it's set between the first one and the second one. So it's like a side story from the first one because the xenomorph that's in it is the one that she ejected out of space. They just caught it. They found it in space and pulled it in to examine it. Well, it turns out it didn't die. It survived the vacuum of space by going into a cocoon.
Yeah,
But Prometheus and Coven kind of, because they weren't finished, and I don't know how Ridley Scott was going to go through it, they kind of ruined the series because of it. Because I don't know if you mind spoilers. I can talk about a little bit of it.
with the prequel. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so with Prometheus, they discovered the black goo. That was on an engineer ship that they were tracking when they first left. The black goo does all kinds of mutations inside stuff and this and that. And well, the android, uh fuck, what's his name? I'm trying to keep all these androids in my head right. Because each of them there's Bishop, there's Ash, Bishop, Hal, David, and Walter. Which this one's David that I'm specifically talking about.
Hmm.
Um, so David infects the main chick's husband with the black goo by pouring it into his drink. And they do the nasty. They get down and dirty on the spaceship. And then, of course, he has his mutation that happens to him. Well, she ends up cutting out and giving birth to the proto face hugger, which is basically this giant fucking like squid thing. It's almost
Hmm.
octopus looking thing.
Yeah.
Well, through all this, an engineer that was actually alive woke up and started attacking them. And the engineer are the Prometheus people. They're the engineers. They're the ones that, according to the prequels, created most life in the galaxy, even human life. That is why they were there. They were trying to find them because they were trying to understand our creators. It's a whole play on religion and all this. And well, the proto face hugger grabs a hold of the engineer. He gives birth to the deacon, which the deacon um You get the Deacon, which we don't know what happens to it in the movie series until later with the comic book series. It turned out the Deacon just keeps growing, and later a group of people are showing up on the planet that Prometheus takes a place on, and they turns out that they're standing on top of the Deacon as it starts to stand up. So it's a whole thing. It's and then we get into uh but she managed to escape with David, not knowing originally that David, I guess, whatever is the gonna be the villain. Well, David 8. This is a David model. Yeah. I love how their names are actually like models. But we get into Alien Covenant, where it turns out he decided to fly the engineer's ship back to the homeworld of the engineers and drop all the black goo on them, which, well, eradicated their entire race in the area. I don't know if it actually killed the entire planet of them or how that's supposed to work because, you don't see them later. But he uses the main uh character from the Covenant from Prometheus is, you know, uses her body to start testing and making xenomorphs. So in this, according to the prequels, David is the xenomorph engineer. He is the engineer of the xenomorphs. And he creates the neomorphs and then the protomorph.
Hmm.
Because at first, uh, I think it's David that makes them. No, it's one of the toxins that were from the black goo. It's the white ones. I don't know if you've seen them. That they're white with one of them has spikes, one of them doesn't. And it's interesting because they burst out two different ways. And well, then he makes the proto xenomorph, which it bursts out of the chest, but not as a chest burster, but as a fully created, just a mini version of the xenomorph.
Yeah.
And they defeat it. But that one in Covenant also has Walter, which is the same model, is a similar model as David. They look alike, but Walter's actually a good android, where David is so overly fascinated with the xenomorph, just like Ash was, and technically Bishop as well. Bishop was kind of obsessed with him, but he wasn't like crazy. He was evil. So we've had two actual good uh androids. Maybe three if you want to count uh I guess technically he's only good because he's an outdated model and he's got a lot of system errors. But once he gets upgraded with that, yeah, that's a whole nother topic. But it ends with David actually defeated Walter and is pretending to be Walter. And as he's selling the main chick, and I think one or two other people that survived back on the ship, which the ship is carrying a bunch of people in cryo because they're going to a planet to colonize it. And it's a colonist ship. And it shows her going back into cryo, But as she goes, she realizes that it's not Walter, it's David. But it's too late. She's stuck in cryo.
Uh,
And he walks into an area that has a cold storage, which you see the other colonists in their um, cryo tanks up hanging around that has embryos. So they froze some babies. Um, he starts spitting up these little things that actually have tiny face huggers in them, two of them, and puts them in there for storage. So it ends with him in a colonist shift of like 40,000 people, I think it was, or something like that, and two facehugger embryos going to some random planet. And then we got a little bit of like these little things where he's talking to Mother, which I don't know if you remember who Mother is, but
vaguely.
Mother's the main AI that Ash was talking to on the ship, the one that was giving them the orders when it came to the xenomorph.
Yeah.
His mother is a Weyland Yutani AI. And still love how it's Weyland Yutani's because it was the Weyland Corporation, the Yutani Corporation merged. So it's Weyland Yutani. But anyways, so it ends with him, on the ship talking to Mother, and you get some like they release some like back little mini clips of him talking to Mother and sending the xenomorph information to Weyland Yutani. Uh So I think they were going to utilize some of that aspect that he's the reason that Weyland Yutani knows about the xenomorphs. But because they
Yeah.
didn't finish it, it's left this hole to the point of, well, how did this one engineer ship show up with the eggs on LV-426 if David is the creator of the xenomorph? You know what I mean? And had
Yeah.
already wiped out a good chunk of them. So, I mean, I guess the argument could be said that, oh, maybe they had already had the black goo. Oh, they already had the xenomorph eggs, and they made the black goo from the eggs, since the black goo can be used to make xenomorphs. And uh, Adam just not Adam, but David just reverse engineered them.
Yeah.
But it's still lazy because, well, the Fox Disney merger happened and all that fun stuff. I mean, they're good films in my opinion. They're not as bad as people think. But they're not my favorite.
Excuse me.
But to me, they are better than three. Four, I don't know. I never rate four because it's too campy of a xenomorph movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I remember I think I remember the second one being my favorite in
oh, James
term
Cameron's.
yeah. And that's probably why, because I'm biased toward James Cameron, but especially his old school stuff, not as much with his modern stuff. Um,
Uh,
but
You mean the things that he's been waiting for technology to get advanced enough for him to actually fucking do?
yeah, yeah. I know I should. I'm a bit of a modern day James. I'm not. I'll just go ahead and say it. I'm not the biggest fan of the Avatar movies, so I'm just not. But but to me his last good amazing movie was um uh Of course, now my mind just went blank right when I was about to say it. Oh my God. What is the name of that movie? Uh, Geez, it was before there was the movie he made right before Titanic. What is the name of that movie?
I forget he made Titanic.
Yeah, I like Titanic, but I wouldn't consider it like my one of the to me that was sort of the I guess you could like until he started making the Avatar movies anyway. I kind of considered Titanic more of the epilogue to his films than his actual final film, I guess you could say. Um, what is the Jeez, it's got Arnold Schwarzenegger in it and Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. Uh,
Oh, is that Mars one?
no, that's Total Recall. Uh, Geez, I may have to actually Google it because for some reason I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, to me that was his last like really great movie. There's probably people listening right now that know exactly what
We're
movie I'm
talking about True
saying, and
Lies.
True Lies, that's the name of that movie. I was literally about to start Googling it,
Arnold
and
Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee
yeah,
Curtis.
yeah, that's it's kind of a standard action movie, but it's written, you know how James Cameron is. He does such a good job
Yeah.
taking such a simple story and like writing it really well. So, but yeah, to me that was his last like amazing movie, and then just after that, it was just like he made Titanic, and then he didn't make any movies for a long time, and then now and I'm just just not the biggest fan of his modern day stuff. So. I'm kind of the same
So,
way
what about
admitted.
it
Oh,
do you not
sorry.
like?
About what?
The Avatar movies.
I feel like now admittedly I can't say as much about the sequels because I've only seen the second one. So up and well, I should say up to the second one because I've seen the first one and the second one. I didn't watch. I gave up after that one. The first one to me, I can't say as much about the second one because I don't really remember much about it, admittedly. I kind of dozed off when it was playing. And but the first one to me was like an example of one of those stories that I've seen like many times before, but just not done as interesting, in my opinion. Like with movies like, I don't know, Dances with Wolves, Pocahontas, you could probably throw a few others in there. But to me, those movies are just more interesting to me than like Avatar is. So I don't know why. Maybe it's just a me thing, but I mean the movie, and I do feel like the story is like really predictable because like as soon as the movie started, like, and I kind of watched the first like 20-ish movie minutes of it, like I kind of felt like I already kind of knew exactly where the whole story was going. And so it made the rest of the movie also kind of boring to me in that way. So, but I don't know. The movie at the time, I don't know what it looks like from today's standards, but at the time, like I will admit it looked really pretty, but in terms of story, I just found it really boring. So, but
So,
yeah,
what you're
this
really
just
saying is you've watched too many movies, so now movies are predictable.
yeah, I mean, even if I had never seen like those movies, I still admittedly wouldn't have been as big. It's kind of my same opinion. And keep in mind, I'm not saying like I hate Avatar or anything. I just not a big fan of it. It's kind of the
Yeah.
same
I mean,
opinion I have about the first Matrix movie. I like that movie quite a bit actually, but I do not consider it the best in the series because to me, The Matrix, the first movie in the series, is actually when you break the plot down, it's actually a pretty standard story. I mean, it's got all the stereotypical stuff in it. You got your hero, your mentor, your villain, the betrayer. We've seen this stuff like thousands of times before, but people act like this is
yeah.
like one of the greatest things. To me, the sequels is where it really elevates the series. That's why I like The Matrix Reloaded, The Matrix, Revolution so much, way more to me than the first one. But I do like the first one quite a bit, actually. So, but to me, it's not as good as the sequel. So it's sort of the same example here. Like, if, like, let's say James Cameron made like this was his only movie or something, I'd be like, yeah, I like his movies, just not as much as like other directors, is probably would be my opinion. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a typical, guy comes in, goes full native, falls in love, but in space and with aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And maybe that's why, because it's decorated a little differently. So, um,
yeah, it's
or
just
decorated in a cool way that people like, kind of like the
yeah.
whole, you know.
I mean, cinematography is beautiful. The story is actually, I mean, for it being a typical of that story, it is well written. It's well acted, and the lore
Yeah.
behind the Navi is what I like.
I don't even remember much about that, but
That like the second one, which is I've watched the second one, The Way of Water.
hmm
Um, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of with you on that one. I don't remember
yeah,
much about it except for the fact that I like that the cool fact that there's some of them that developed like water. There's they develop for water where there's some that develop for running around the trees and stuff.
yeah,
I thought that was cool and how they have different cultures, but realistically in the end it was very much copy paste from the first one. Except for now he's got
uh,
a family, he's at a different tribe. But yeah, in the end, he still tames the biggest, baddest thing in the water, like he did the biggest, baddest thing in the sky, and whoops up on humans who show up who are actually weaker than the fucking Navi, but keep showing up to try and pollute the planet or do this stupid shit.
yeah,
The only thing I thought it was going to be different is because like immediately in the beginning they show up and they blow up the big ass tree, the main tree, and I thought it was going to be like an all out war thing. Like now the military showing up, and
yeah.
it's gonna be a celestial, a what is it, galactic event? What is it called? How would you put that? Two planets going to war? I mean, War of the Two Worlds, but like,
I don't know,
but then he
intergalactic war.
runs,
So,
yeah, intergalactic war, but
yeah,
like he ends up
maybe.
running away. Him and his family run away. He's got the boy with him that was the main villain in the first one's son. Uh they run it off to the water people, the water Navi, and they end up tracking him over there. They download the original villain's consciousness into a clone body that was slightly enhanced or whatever. He really did rehash a lot of same stuff from the first movie.
Yeah,
Because I do like the first movie. It's it's got some cool lore into it, and I love the planet and the concept of the Navi. But then I can't forgive the repeat, the copy paste, too much copy paste.
yeah.
Because I mean, I would have done the second one of him actually having to uh, fight with the Navi again, fighting actual the military instead of just a company this time that are hiring military officers, and then
So
have to
when you say
recruit the
Navi,
water.
I can't stop picturing the fairy from Legend of Zelda.
Ah, I forgot about that.
It's like every time you say Navi, I immediately am like, look, listen, in my head.
Hey, listen.
Yeah.
God, that annoyed the piss out of me. The only thing that pissed me off so much about that game. Hey, listen.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
most Zelda
look.
fans don't find that annoying. Yeah.
I do, I do.
I'm actually
But
not the biggest. Oh, sorry. I'm about to get off on a
go
long
ahead.
spill. You go ahead. No, no, I'm about to take the conversation in a completely different direction. Go ahead.
I'll just finish up real quick. It's just it should have been better with the tree Navi and the water Navi all teamed up together, and you didn't have
Yeah.
the big old tree just destroyed and them having to run from their home. And I don't know where he's going with Yash, the new one, but anyways, so I can see why you don't always like it, but yeah, it's whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh
go on your
man.
little rant.
Well, it's not really a rant. Well, kind of. All I was just really gonna say, but I was afraid like if I said it, then you might say something and then it'd steer it in when you hadn't really finished saying what you were saying. But I was just gonna say I'm actually not the biggest fan of video games that give you that like uh the assistant character that always tries to tell you what to do, unless it's built into the story a little bit more. Like I guess because I realized as I'm sitting here saying this, technically they do that in Jack and Daxter. But the difference with Daxter is he's actually like part of like he's in the cutscenes and like he actually adds more to the game than just like telling
Yeah.
you how to do stuff. And so he's sort of an exception for me. But most
Well, I
games, yeah,
mean,
I'm not the biggest fan of
yeah.
like assistant characters that give you tips and tricks. I don't know. I've never been the biggest fan of games that do that. So it's not like I
Yeah,
hate
well,
it or anything.
with like Jack and Dexter, and then you have the Sly Cooper games.
Yeah.
Um
I guess Darksiders does that too, where they have the what is his name? That follows
uh
War
yeah.
around. It's Mark Hamill, does his voice, so that's cool.
Yeah.
But
That's why it sounds Joker-ish.
yeah. But so I guess they kind of do that with him, but with that game. But other than that,
But he's a
I
main point of
can't.
the character. Like
Yeah,
they made
he's
him
part of
very
the
prominent
story.
because he's
Yeah,
supposed to watch you like a hawk. He's your probation officer.
yeah. Mhm.
So he'll be in
And
there saying some shit, makes sense.
yeah, other than those, I can't really think of too many games where I actually find that like at all like adding anything. So I get that they're trying to do something besides just throwing some text on the screen and going, "Hey, click this button and then make this happen." Which I mean, so I guess they're at least trying, when you have stuff like that. But yeah, I've never been a big fan of that. So mm,
I am only like I said, like what you said, if it's like they're useful to the game, like if there's someone that's supposed to be on comms the whole time,
yeah,
you know.
because even admittedly, like in Darksiders, I don't really feel like they utilize this character enough, like throughout the middle portion of the story. Like he works well at the very beginning, and like when they first meet, like Samael and stuff like that. And but like in the later parts of the game, I don't really feel like they utilize his character all that much. Like he's not
Not
quite
really.
as in a lot as much in the cutscenes, like as much as like with Daxter is, like with Jack and Daxter. Like and he's like part of the story. He's literally the reason why the story even starts. So,
Yeah.
but
Also,
yeah.
your
Anyway,
character for
that was
Jack and
yeah.
Dexter is a mute, so like,
Yeah, so he kind of helped provide a voice a little bit. So, and well, in Jack 2, of course, Jack starts talking, but Daxter still adds quite a bit, to the cutscenes and the story and stuff. So he's not just like there. He doesn't feel like he's just there because he was in the previous game. So like he still feels like he has purpose. You want him there and that kind of stuff. Uh,
yeah. But
But
yeah.
yeah, that was
I
my little mini rant. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say I kind of agree. Like I do like it when games when a character that talks all the time is actually thrown into the lore. Like if Navi was like actually in the stories where she like does stuff more or whatever, maybe.
Yeah.
And if they didn't have such a fucking annoying voice.
Yeah, that I think that's the biggest problem with Navi is like she's just so like the voice is annoying, I think is what it is. So, but I guess it is fair to say that's more of like maybe a 90s, early 2000s thing where they always have that, and maybe the voice actor that does those characters isn't always the greatest voice actor, and like and they say like these same three phrases over and over again. They're like, "Hey, take a look at this," or whatever, whatever the voice may be, and it gets a little old after a while. You're like, "Oh God, why do they have to have this voice?" So, uh, anyway,
Yeah,
speaking of games, oh sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I prefer text for like tutorials over like characters speaking to you because like it's always weird when you get one of those games where the character's like double tap the A button, double tap spacebar, or whatever,
Yeah, I
whichever.
guess that is the convenience of text with tutorials over a voice. Because with text, at least if you already, especially if you already know how to play the game, like you played it before, like you can just like branch right over that. You don't need to like go through that same process again. You just like quickly tap the A button or the X button or the enter button, whatever your device you're
Yeah,
using to play the game, and click past all that because you're like, I already know what to do. So
yeah. So like, but like also you gotta think like I don't want to hear characters in my game mention that I'm playing a game.
yeah, that's true. It's a bit of immersive breaking. So they're like, hey, click the A button. And I'm like, don't tell me that. I'm like, I'm supposed to be in character right now. Don't tell me that I'm hitting
Like
a A
reading
button.
that I
Yeah.
gotta hit the A button, like me seeing that I'm in a game is fine. But when the
Yeah.
world, like they can drop little hints to it or whatever, little fourth wall break nods, but like, eh, I don't like full on fourth wall breaking.
Yeah. I don't mind if it's done in a funny way, but yeah, not like in that kind of way. So
If the
like
game
not
is meant to
not
be fourth wall
tutorial way.
breaking,
So
if the whole game is meant to be fourth wall breaking, like it worked in Deadpool because well, Deadpool's a fourth wall breaking character.
yeah.
So when
Yeah.
you played his video game, of course they had to make him break the fourth wall and talk to the actual people with the controller.
Right. That makes sense.
Like
Yeah.
there's one whole scene where you're pressing X to fight someone and he starts making comments like about you keep forcing him to punch him. And
Yeah,
I'm
or
like,
sometimes a
ugh.
lot of older games they do that thing where the main character sometimes if you don't move for a little while, they'll kind of look toward the what would be the camera essentially and be like, "Are we gonna go?" Or they kind of do that thing. Like that's fine because that's
Yeah.
done for humor purposes. So
Yeah, I like that little nod come back and they're just like staring at like player. We've been sitting here forever.
like yeah, we're just standing here But yeah, anyway, speaking of games, since we're about out of the time for the podcast,
Oh
um
no.
I wanted to kind of ask you on the podcast,
Okay.
if you are interested, I know we've mentioned it in older episodes before. I don't remember how far back it was, but we've mentioned it a couple of times. If you're interested, for some reason, I've been in the mood where I really want to talk about video game generations. And
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
so if you want to, we could episode by episode, we could take generation at a time. Well, actually, the first two generations, since there's not really much to talk about in the first generation, we could just kind of tack those onto one. But after that, then we could take it generation by generation if you wanted to. So
Yeah, I'm
each
down with talking
episode.
about gaming and generations.
Yeah, I know we mentioned it before, but I just never really gotten around to like, I was like, yeah, one day we got to talk about this. And then we just kind of never, but here lately, I was like, I've been really in the mood to like talk about video game generations for some reason. I was like, we should do that for the podcast. So,
Oh, everyone, comment down below. Do y'all want us to do that? I
yeah,
granted, no
now
one
it may
comments
not,
because I'll tell.
yeah, it may not be the next episode, but definitely coming soon. Yeah, we could do that. So, like maybe
Yeah,
the episode after next or something like that. So,
yeah, we'll definitely have to do that. That's definitely up our alley, anyway. So
yeah, I feel like it makes sense for the podcast. So we talk about games
we
like
talk about
probably like
movies so
80% of the
much.
time.
Yeah, talk about movies, games, mostly a little bit of comic book stuff here and there, and a little bit of this mix in. But yeah, yeah. But I guess with that being said, comment down below if you actually really are more into our gaming talks and stuff, and we might start, moving our podcast a little bit more towards, a certain type of way. You never know. We're just weird like that. But in the end, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and all that jazz, and we'll see you in the next time. Next time? Next one. Bye!
Welcome to the city where chaos thrives. Kevin and Eric keep people alive. Random talks and stories collide. Barks Laughs and madness, wild and free. Tune in now, let the good vibes flow. Bar City, your favorite show. Eric drops a pun, Kevin